Here we are, almost done with our bed end table for the wife, so she doesn't drop her phone anymore. Got a few things left to do. We need to round over all the sharp corners. And for that, we're probably going to end up using a 3/16 round over bit to just round over all the corners in our router. Then attach the tabletop. Obviously it's all wood, not built the greatest because it was built a couple months ago. Didn't really pay attention to the wood grain, so I'm sure it's going to move and warp and all kinds of stuff. It is pine as well. So we need to attach the tabletop. To do that, we're going to cut some rabbets into the back side here, and then put tabletop fasteners on that. And actually, I have another table we can go look at. Let's take a look at and see how that works. So here's a future dining room table that I'm just about done with. So take a rabbeting bit, like so, and then from the other side, run it through to make a little groove here, and get these tabletop fasteners, little Z-clips, I guess you could call them. Some people make them. I ended up buying these from Rockler, I believe. They're only a couple bucks for like a 6 or 8 pack. But once they're in there, the Z-clip goes in there. You screw it down and you put it all around the table, and that allows for your wood movement, for your tabletop to move with the seasons and weather and humidity, while the skirt keeps it locked in. So we'll do that. We'll round it over. We'll sand all our coves out, because you can see these are all still pretty rough from the table saw. And then we'll be ready for stain. And we'll probably do some random stain thing with it, just to practice some type of different finish. I mean, this is just kind of a one-off piece. I'm not making a whole bunch of them. I didn't make a pair. I probably could have, and they probably would have sold better later when we want to get rid of them. But in the meantime, well, it doesn't really matter. But this is a real simple project for a lot of beginners to make. Real basic tools. I was even telling the wife on how even as simple as this taught you a lot of skills that you can use later on. Things for mortise and tenon, things for making jigs and whatnot. So when you break it down, the simplest part of it is, well, this is 19.5 inches wide. I have a 20-inch planer, so for me it was glue it up, run it through the planer. For somebody with a smaller planer or hand tools only, you can get that S4S pine from Lowe's, Home Depot, and you can glue it up. But it's going to take a little bit more time to get it aligned right, so you don't have to do minimum sanding. Don't have a whole lot of glue attached to it. So that's one of your extremely basic skills that you can learn as a new woodworker. Other ones, the glue ups of the legs, because they're 2 inches. 2x4 is not 2 inches, so you're going to have to get thicker material and then get it cut down. That's perfect for the table saw joiner. If you have one, you don't need it. Table saw would work perfect for that because it's relatively small lumber. Your skirts. Yeah, let's take this apart real quick. This isn't even glued up yet. Your skirts here. All 4 of these pieces. Once you have your cove, I mean, that was made on a table saw. And then where it goes into your legs, that groove right there, made with a router bit, 3/8 inch router bit. Well, that's basically mortise and tenon, halfway of mortise and tenon, since it's more of a half lap on the skirt and it just slides in, so you don't have to worry about both sides being even. It basically doubles your error. So this eliminates that, so you're only doing half of that. So one, on the skirt, we made it a little bit decorative. We practiced a type of mortise and tenon, the grooves into our table, legs. The legs themselves, which we made a jig for that to do our tapers. So now that's honestly, that jig is half of making a crosscut sled. All you got to do is do 1 or 2 extra steps for the other rail and aligning your fences front and rear, and that's a crosscut sled. So that's super easy to make. The grooves in these legs, I made a jig for my table saw for the router, the bench table saw mounted router. Great. You may not have one. You may not have a router bench. Well, you can still do it with just a normal router. Just make an extra jig, flat area, and run it through that way. It's still doable. Once again, really easy things to do. So all these things, all basic woodworking skills that everyone wants to learn. Oh, hey, cool. Somebody told me to build a table, this and that. Well, how do I do it? This isn't a how to do it. This is a, hey, you can do it, and it takes minimal measurements. You don't have to do a big what to do and skills and plans and board feet. You can just go out and buy 3, 4, probably 1 2x4, maybe 2 in case you screwed up, and a couple of 1x6s, and you'll have extras, 1x4s even, if you don't want to cut them down too much. But all that, you'll end up with some scraps, some extras. You'll use them for some other project, some other jig. So don't be afraid to screw it up. Plywood's always a relatively cheap option as well. And you can just do edge banding if you don't want to do a solid wood top. You can do the plywood top and just put edge banding on it. It's all practice, and then you can practice the staining on something small like this, relatively cheap. You don't have to start with a big project. You can do dovetails and practice and practice and practice. Don't practice. Make something, and as you make it, you'll get better. I mean, these aren't very good on some of them. Some of them are really nice and tight, but it's going to work.